So, are you feeling frustrated or anxious or overwhelmed or a fair amount of pressure, things kind of pushing on you? I know I have. I'm Vicky Della Gioio. I'm the founder of the Way of Joy spiritual fitness program, which is based a lot on the Chinese art of Qigong. And I'm also the founder of the Rockstar Speaking program. Today, what I wanted to talk about was well, to start with a story, of course, which is those of you who have seen my posts know that I have been struggling with my computer. Oh my gosh, it's been so frustrating. For about 5 days on tech support every single day. Yesterday, I think it was 6.5 or 7 hours dealing with tech support, trying to solve these problems. I just felt like I was bumping into absolute pushback. I think it's more or less resolved right now. I've had a couple people remind me that it's Mercury in retrograde, so maybe that'll help. I don't know. But I don't think I'm alone in this feeling in terms of anxiety or depression, not depression, frustration, I would say, intense frustration. So I wanted to check in with you guys and see if that's something any of you might be experiencing too. If it is, I have some sort of good news about it, which is it's spring. We're moving towards the apex of spring, which at least in the Chinese calendar, the spring equinox is kind of considered the peak of spring. And as we move toward it, you'll find that spring energy is coming through. So for some of us, spring energy is momentum, and it's getting lighter, longer during the day, and yay, and butterflies and young love, or that kind of thing. But for many of us, you might tune into some other piece that's not quite as pleasant or as much fun, because truthfully, spring is a time of emergency. That is to say, emergence. There's an energy that's emerging forward, and during that process, you may find yourself bumping up into a lot of resistance. I know that, boy, that has been so true for me with this computer thing. So I just wanted to let you know that if you are feeling a sense of frustration or push or resistance, or a sense of expansion and contraction that's happening fairly quickly, it is because we are in a kind of a labor process, right? The image I always come up with when I think about spring is the image of little plants that I have outside, because I've not been tending my sidewalk very well. I have in my backyard, but in the concrete there's those little cracks, and then there's these weeds or plants. Weeds are basically plants that you don't want, but that are pushing up through that into the light of the sun, right? So when you think about the type of life force that takes to be able to find where the opening is and then push up, I've actually seen some plants begin to uproot the concrete. So they actually started to break up the concrete. Certainly roots of trees do that, but I've seen some plants that are pretty hardy. So there's a lot of push that's happening right now, and so for pushing can be kind of exhausting. So I found myself having to kind of surrender and sometimes to that exhaustion. Hi, Anne. Nice to see that you're watching. I don't know if you've been feeling this too, but this is, I know here in the Bay Area we see signs of spring that you might not see in other parts of the country or the world. But right now there's a sense of I'm seeing budding happening all over the place. Even up in areas that are snowy, the crocuses are starting to come up. Crocus are starting to come up. So this is a time of year that if you're feeling overwhelmed or anxious, if you feel like there's taking care of household tasks or needing to deal with stresses at work with colleagues or coworkers or employees or employers or clients, or if you're finding that you're dealing with relationships at home where you're finding yourself get in a sense of push, there's a push, a pressure. This is all about energy wanting to come forth, right? There's energy that's wanting to be birthed right now. So it's a good time to actually check in with yourself and see if you were really to tune in to what is in your heart and in your mind about what you want to see birthed for this season. If you think of this almost as the beginning of a new year, what would that be? What would that look like? And I'd love to hear from you. If you want to just type anything, I'd love to hear what it is that you experience at this time, or what it is that you're tuning into that's wanting to come forward during this time of year. So you basically have two options here, which is you can kind of white knuckle yourself through it, just press and pressure to deal, just kind of get through the days and get through. It's like me, I wanted to take my computer and just throw it through a window at some point, and that's anger, right? So in the Chinese medicine, this time of year, spring, is connected to the emotion of anger and frustration. And they saw different systems in Qigong, at least, say different things about what those emotions can become or so forth. There's one particular one in the Healing Tao system where they say that anger and frustration, when you start to move energy through your body, turns into kindness and forgiveness. And for me personally, I always interpret that as especially forgiveness of self, being able to forgive yourself. I know that we're in a type of, right now is a time of a fair amount of anxiety and between the coronavirus and whatever people are feeling, the anxiety that people might be feeling around the election, regardless of where you're coming from on the political spectrum. It's again, there's this sense of what's wanting to come through. So just check in with yourself. Is there something that you're birthing? Is there something that you feel like you'd love to see happen in the next month or two as we move eventually towards summer? What would you like to see flower in your life, in your business, if you have a business, in your personal relationships, in your health practices? What are the things that really matter to you? What are the things that feel like you want to either bring something new forward, or maybe you want to renew energy, or maybe something has been happening but you want to tweak it and shift it and make it really work for you in a different way? This is a good time to be thinking about that, because it's kind of an onset time. It's a time of something coming forward. For me, of course, it's always about the practice of Qigong. So I have all these different practices that I do. And in fact, I'm going to do another Facebook Live in about a week. So check for I'll make an announcement on Facebook, but about the liver, which is the organ that's connected to this time, those things that we can do in terms of our health practices to be able to really optimize this time. Because if you don't want to white knuckle it and kind of just get through your way through the day, then the question becomes is like, what are the tools and practices that you can do that can exercise, Sherry. Hi, Sherry. Yes, exercise is a great thing to do to keep the muscles and the joints fluid. And of course, again, that always brings me back to Qigong, because Qigong is such a gentle way to get that blood moving, and then Qi rides the blood, so we're just sort of flowing with the season. So how do we optimize this season? Since it is a power time, a time of birthing, a time of expansion and contraction, then we really look at, well, what is it that we can do that can allow ourselves to just relax and know that if you're feeling a fair amount of overwhelm or a fair amount of frustration right now, you're right in tune with the season. You're exactly where you need to be. And then the next question becomes is, how do we optimize it? How do we actually make that energy work for us instead of feeling like we're just constantly pushing against something? Anastasia, oh my gosh, nice to see you. Oh, it's been so long since I met you in India. Hope you're doing really well. So a vague feeling of anxiety, slightly nervous stomach, even though things are going great like a shadow. Yes, that's right. Hi, Kim, my Qigong sister. Good to see you too. So yes, that sense of vague unsettlement, that like, again, it can be connected to what's happening in terms of the health crisis that's happening globally, or in terms of what's happening here in the U.S. for those of us in the U.S. Around the politics. All of these just sort of unquiet, unsettling. Relax. Know that you're exactly where you need to be. This is the time of year for that, right? This is the time of year to just really recognize that there's this expansion and contraction happening. And expansion and contraction is entirely natural, right? Our lungs do it all the time. That's right. We're just constantly breathing, or flowers open and close, or the ocean waves come out and in. Expansion and contraction is what links us to the rest of the natural breathing world. So what I believe is important then is to look at what do we do when we're feeling contracted. So if you were like I was this morning with my computer ready to throw it through the window because it's not working and the tech support's not being enough help, then then what do we do? What do we do? So I'm going to be answering more of those questions when I come back next week. But all I want you to know for today is relax. Know that you're in tune with this. Sometimes just knowing that will help. The other thing is then how do you optimize times of contraction when you're feeling that sense of resistance, when you're feeling like a plant pushing up through the surface into the light of the sun, then what is it that you can do that will allow that, bring light and energy to that? Oh, Martine from France. It's so fun to have people from all over the world connecting here. Thank you so much for joining me today. So I've been talking about spring for those of you who came in late, and talking about that this is a time in Chinese medicine where you'll be encountering anger and frustration. And if you do, then let yourself remember, the spring. This is a time of pressure, contraction, so I'm in tune with what's happening in nature. Sometimes, just like I said, just having that overview can make a big difference. So let's see if I have anything else. I do have a Facebook event that I'm going to be doing right before spring equinox, right before that peak of spring. I'll be doing some Qigong exercises and various types of practices that I have found incredibly helpful, because as we move towards that apex time, things will get more intense. And to be able to really let yourself know that as things get more intense, that you can still optimize, really find out how to use those times of contraction, those times of pressure, as a way to celebrate this birthing time, this time of something coming forward. Again, so if I were to give you play work, what I would say is, when you feel anxious, when you feel pressure, when you feel a sense of frustration, remember this is part of spring. The second thing is, find ways to contract that you can really honor that there are going to be times when you just don't feel like it. Like you might need to rest. You might need to just stop. I have several people, clients and friends, who've talked about just feeling exhausted, like feeling that they need to sleep or nap a lot. To give yourself that permission to nap and rest is probably a good thing. Obviously, we don't want to get, waterlogged with it, but to give yourself those cat naps, or even up to 2 hours, so that then you can renew. It's really a renewal time. So what does renewal mean to you? What are the things that you would say renew your energy? I can see that you, I'd love to see what you actually write about what renews your spirit. Is it art? Is it dance, Anastasia? Is it being able to just go out for a walk in nature? Is it whatever it is? Look for those times where you can kind of go in order to birth out. So we're coming out of winter, which is more of an internal time, more of a little kind of a bye bye, Kim. Thanks for dropping by. It's a time where you're kind of baking or gestating your seeds. Like if you think of the seeds that you planted with the new year, now they're starting to show, right? So if you had any kind of affirmation or intention or resolutions at the beginning of the year, they're going to start to show more, and you might find there's a little bit of contraction as they do. So there's a beautiful form in Qigong called Blossom in the Spring, where your energy expands and then contracts to gather more strength, courage, and compassion from the heart. So if you find yourself in that frustration, this is again part of that second part of the play work, is to check in with yourself. Feel for what is it that's being birthed, and give yourself permission to water those seeds. Okay, so I will see you Oh, good. Wonderful, Betty Ann. Go for a walk along the water. I wish I could join you. That's beautiful. I think I'll take a walk around my neighborhood too, because there's flowers popping out all over the place. So those are the two things that I'd say, and come join me next week. I'll probably do it, I think I had it calendared for Tuesday or Wednesday. I don't know. I'll put it down in the comments below. But join me while I talk a little bit more about things that you can do to nourish yourself, nurture yourself during the season. I love seeing you all here. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to connecting with you again, and write comments. Let me know what your thoughts are about what I said, or what your own thoughts are about spring, because of course we all have our own associations with spring. And like I said, some of us may be feeling, it's fun, more light, more joy, more fun, more butterflies, and others may be feeling a sense of pressure or frustration, or we might toggle back and forth between them. Who knows? So let me know what you think and what you feel, what your associations are, and I look forward to seeing you next time. I think that I'm about to publish the Facebook event if you want to join me for the spring equinox preparation that I'll be doing, a short webinar meeting, online streaming video connection. That will not be Facebook, that'll be on Zoom, so I'll be able to see you too, and we'll be able to interact more. That'll be happening on March 17th, on Tuesday, March 17th, during Pacific time lunch hour, 12:30 to 1:15, and then you'd have to adjust for whatever time zone you're in. Okay, so till next time. Oh, hi, Jane. I'm just completing this. Great to see you pop by. Watch the recording if you feel like it, because I talked quite a bit about spring. So, yes, Julia, yes, I know you've been feeling a lot of pressure, and I love that you can see that you're not alone and that it is perfectly normal. You're just in tune with what's happening in the season. Okay, y'all, take good care of yourselves. Drink plenty of water. And till next time, be well and let the chi flow. Bye-bye.